DC, you once believed that no matter when Kayla Harrison stepped into the cage, she was also unbeatable. Corporate Jake?
I'm telling you right now, as I look into my camera, whether it's Cris Cyborg, whether it's Amanda Nunes, I don't know who in the world can beat Kayla Harrison right now. I am not confident to say she is losing to anyone. I love Amanda. The reality is, I'm talking about a person that I've never seen anything like it. And hey, we've never seen Amanda before. We've never seen a fighter quite like Amanda, but we have seen Amanda get beat. Nobody has even come close to challenging Kayla Harrison.
I mean, bruh, where y'all be getting this stuff from, man? Why y'all just keep this stuff? Who does this? Who keeps this all on tap for when something happened after years, Ryan can point to it and go, wow, DC, wow, you said this, you said this, you said this. So what am I supposed to do now? I mean, come on, man.
DC, Larissa Pacheco would like a word with you right now. She'd like a word. And I think what she'd say is, I'm her. Right? Wouldn't you think that? I'm her? Because you said you didn't know who, DC. You said, she's, no. And I think you said she's unflappable. When I look at Kayla Harrison, I think to myself, maybe even if she was fighting a young Daniel Cormier, she would submit me. I think you said something like that. I also think you were like, matter of fact, you could put Cris Cyborg, Valentina Shevchenko, and you can also put Amanda Nunes in the cage with Kayla Harrison at one time. And if all of those people attacked her at one time, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did Shredder at the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original movie 1, there was no way they could beat him. They would need Master Splinter in order to beat her. She's like Shredder. I remember you saying that, DC. I remember you said it. And listen,
bro,
what
is wrong with
what?
you? What is
That's
wrong
what
with
you
you?
said.
Because you know what's crazy? Guys, we have a group message, and Ryan Clark, right? Y'all remember, I pulled the video up. Okay, Kayla, talk your talk, Kayla. Okay, talk your talk, Kayla. That was Ryan Clark when Kayla was on here talking all that trash. Saturday night she lost, and then Ryan texts the group. He goes, so we're just going to let Kayla Harrison skate off. Like, nothing happened when this guy lost, and when this guy we were all talking about
when Izzy lost, all y'all want to be on the group chat, all fired up. Here comes Glenn. Hello, there, and then there's Air, and then here comes Jake and Sean, and everybody wants to text when Izzy loses, but Kayla Harrison loses, and crickets. Right? Nobody says nothing then. Where's DC? You on the West Coast. I know you was awake, bro. But no, nobody wants to say nothing then. And then, but you know
Larissa
what?
Twice,
Larissa said, and the Lord said, you got to rise up. Shout out to my boy, Stu Scott. Woo!
Dog, let me tell you something, RC.
Yeah.
Larissa Pacheco, which honestly we should give her credit because she won that fight a lot off of her back. The 5th round, she was on her back the whole time. And she managed to win that round to win the fight.
Great scoring.
That's how damages, right? And that's very telling that the judging was able to score it in that way. They generally don't do that. They put a lot of emphasis on the takedown, but they put more emphasis on the damage that Larissa was doing from her back. But the reality is Kayla has won that fight twice. It took someone 3 times inside the octagon with her to build a game plan to beat her, and it was still a 48-47. So it was 3 rounds to 2. So it's not like Kayla got washed out. But the reality is it does a lot of damage to her.
Why you make so many excuses for Kayla?
I'm not
Why
making
you make so many
excuses
for her, DC?
I'm not making excuses. I'm
God,
saying that
DC, everybody else lose.
That it does. I'm saying that it does damage to the idea of who Kayla is. But, RC, it was a close fight, and I can imagine that in the long term, we will see these two compete against each other again. But hats off to Larissa Pacheco for doing what she did and beating someone that many thought, you included, was unbeatable.
Well, you know what? I will say this. It is true. I am a Kayla Harrison fan because I love dominance. And listening to her after the fight, you had to feel for her, but also love her competitiveness and how much she cares.
To me, my legacy isn't just what I do inside of the cage, but how I carry myself outside of the cage. And I think about what I want my kids to know, and I'm not ashamed of myself tonight. You know, I'm proud. I went out there, I fought, I lost, but I can hold my head high and carry myself with dignity. And I think that a real champion shows up in the good times and the bad, you know, and I want kids everywhere to know that, listen, I fell down tonight. I fell flat on my face. I lost in front of the whole world, and it hurts, and it's going to hurt for a while. But it's also an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for me to become a better fighter, a better person, and that is part of my legacy, not just the wins, you know, but what I do during the losses as well.
DC, I'm gonna say this.
I love that.
What I do love it. I do love it, and I hope people don't find what I say in my analysis of it as a negative critique. Looking at Kayla after the fight, it reminds me of people, and I'm not saying this is all she is, and please don't misunderstand this, but it reminds me of someone having a ton wrapped up in that zero. And what I mean by that is that zero in the loss column. That means so much to you, and that type of dominance, because even for us, DC, that was what we always pointed to, because we felt like she wasn't fighting the Cyborgs. We felt like she wasn't fighting the Amanda Nuneses. And so in doing that, you had to be dominant, and not only dominant in the way that the fights took place, but in the loss column. That having that zero in the loss column is what gave us the opportunity to, on shows like this, have conversations about Kayla Harrison as the best in the world at something, when she never fought anyone that we considered in the conversation of best in the world. And so it was always, and it had to be, she, even though she doesn't have the list of names on her resume that say all-time great or say all-time greatest, the way that she's dominated them and not losing puts her in that conversation. When you look at this, how does this affect her perception moving forward, and what's the next step for her?
Unfairly, RC, when you're in another organization, like you said, you got to dominate, you got to be undefeated, because otherwise they start to view you as not equal to, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend, UFC. Because that's why some people still call mixed martial arts UFC. So when you're not in the UFC, you got to be so dominant that it supersedes what people are doing inside the UFC's octagon. You got to be better. You got to be a little bit ahead of what they do. By losing, it affects her and the way we view her. But what it also does, and they said it on Saturday, it makes it more likely that Cris Cyborg will fight her now than before. Because, again, like Glover, the unknown was what I believe was stalling the Cyborg fight. But I think now, as Cyborg's seen her lose, Cris will be like, you know what? Looks like somebody I've fought before. There are a lot of holes in the game, so it's not as unknown. So I think next, Kayla Harrison may get a bigger fight with Cris Cyborg if Bellator is willing to do the co-promotion, which at times they've been able to do, and willing to do. They're doing it with Ryzen at the end of the year right now. So I could see her in something bigger. But down the line with another opportunity to win the tournament again and make another $1 million.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.